It was past 2 in the morning when the little girl first spoke from the back seat, her voice small and calm in the dark car. She said her brother was waving at her from the side of the road, smiling the way he used to before the accident. But her brother had been gone for 8 months. I kept driving, hands tight on the wheel, pretending I hadn't heard. Some things you learn not to answer. My name is Elena, and this is what happened with my daughter after we moved into the old house on Maple Ridge. We needed somewhere quiet after everything. The place was cheap, surrounded by trees that blocked most of the sunlight, and the realtor kept talking about how families had lived there for generations. The first few nights were normal enough. Sophie would fall asleep with her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm, and I would sit in the living room listening to the creaks of an old house settling. But after the second week, the sounds changed. They became deliberate, soft footsteps crossing the hallway at 3:15 every morning, stopping right outside her door. I told myself it was the pipes. I told myself a lot of things back then. Sophie started waking up with dirt on her feet. Not just a little smudge, but thick, black soil caked between her toes like she had been running through the woods behind the house. She didn't remember doing it. She would look at me with those wide, trusting eyes and say she had been dreaming about playing with the other children. When I asked what other children, she would smile and say they lived under the big oak tree, the one with the rope swing that had been there long before we arrived. I started locking her door at night. The lock was on the inside, but somehow it didn't matter. The dirt kept appearing. One evening I found her sitting cross-legged on the floor of her room, facing the corner. She was whispering. When I stepped closer, I heard 2 voices, hers and something lower, patient, like an adult trying to sound like a child. I grabbed her and pulled her away. She looked up at me, confused. "Mommy, why did you scare them? They were only showing me where they buried the dog. There had never been a dog. Not in this house." That night, I searched the property with a flashlight. Under the oak tree, the ground was soft in one spot, recently turned. I didn't dig. I couldn't make myself do it. The pattern broke when Sophie stopped speaking to me directly. She would only talk through her drawings, page after page of stick figures holding hands in a circle, but one figure was always taller, thinner, with too many joints. She drew it standing behind her in every picture. I started sleeping in her room on a mattress on the floor. Around 4 in the morning, I woke to the sound of her breathing changing. It became slower, deeper, like someone much older. Her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. "They want me to stay longer this time," she said in that same calm voice. "They miss playing." I felt the temperature drop so sharply my breath fogged. The closet door was open just a crack, and in the darkness I saw movement, small shapes shifting like children waiting their turn. I didn't scream. I just held her until morning. We left 3 days later. The house is still there. Sometimes I drive past it when I can't sleep. The rope swing moves even when there is no wind. And every once in a while, late at night, my phone lights up with a number I don't recognize. When I answer, I hear children laughing far away, and then Sophie's voice, small and patient, asking if I'm ready to come play yet. That story always stays with me because it started so quietly. But there are others that feel closer to something ancient wearing a child's face, like what happened to Marcus and his son in the suburbs outside Chicago. Marcus worked nights, so he and little Caleb had developed their own routines during the day. Caleb was 6, quiet, the kind of kid who noticed everything. One afternoon, Marcus woke up, to find Caleb standing at the foot of the bed holding a Polaroid camera they had bought at a yard sale. The boy's eyes were glassy. "Daddy." He came back in the picture again. Marcus took the camera and flipped through the photos. Most of them were normal, blurry shots of the backyard or the hallway. But in the last few, there was a second figure. A boy Caleb's age standing just behind him, head tilted at an unnatural angle, face blurred like it had been caught in motion. Marcus asked who it was. Caleb shrugged and said it was the boy who lived in the walls. He only came out when the lights were off. At first, Marcus thought it was an imaginary friend. He even played along, setting an extra plate at dinner. But the photos kept appearing. Caleb would wake up with new ones scattered across his bed, each one showing the other boy a little closer. In the final set, the figure wasn't behind Caleb anymore. It was standing beside him, holding his hand. The face was clearer now. It looked exactly like Caleb, except the eyes were completely black. Marcus stopped going to work. He nailed boards over the vents and covered every mirror in the house. Caleb grew quieter. He would sit for hours with his ear pressed against the drywall, nodding slowly as if listening to instructions. One night, Marcus heard laughter coming from Caleb's room. Two voices, perfectly synchronized. He opened the door and found his son standing in front of the closet, staring into the darkness. The boy turned around slowly. For a moment, his face looked wrong, stretched, like someone else was trying it on. "We're going to trade places now," Caleb said, but the voice wasn't his. It was deeper, older, tired. "He's been waiting longer." Marcus grabbed his son and ran. They spent the night in a motel. When they returned the next morning, every photo in the house had been torn apart except one. It showed Caleb alone in the backyard, smiling. Behind him, through the window of the house, you could see another boy watching from inside. Marcus sold the house within the week. The new owners lasted 4 months before they left too. People say if you drive past at night, you can see two silhouettes in the upstairs window, holding hands, waiting for someone else to come inside. These stories connect in ways that make you wonder if the same thing is simply moving from house to house, wearing different children like coats. I heard a version of something similar from a woman named Rebecca, whose daughter attended a small private school in the mountains. The school was old, built in the 1800s as an orphanage before it became an academy. Rebecca's daughter Mia was 7 and had always been sensitive to crowds. After a few months, she started coming home with stories about the girl who sat in the back of the classroom even when all the seats were full. The girl never spoke during lessons but would whisper to Mia during quiet reading time. She told Mia secrets about the teachers, things no child should know. One afternoon, Mia drew a picture of the playground during recess. Every child was there except one teacher who stood near the trees with her hands covering her face. The next day, that teacher didn't come to school. She had been found in her car at the bottom of the ravine. Rebecca tried to dismiss it as coincidence until Mia started predicting smaller things. A pop quiz. A bird flying into the window. Then, bigger ones. She told her mother that the girl in the back wanted everyone to know what happened in the basement in 1932. Rebecca asked the principal about the school's history. The woman went pale and changed the subject. That night, Mia woke up screaming. She said the girl was angry because they were trying to forget. In the morning, there were new drawings, rows of small beds, children standing beside them with hollow eyes. And in every picture, faint handprints on the walls as if something had been clawing to get out. Rebecca pulled Mia from school, but the drawings kept appearing in her backpack. One final picture showed Mia herself standing in the school hallway at night, alone, while dozens of small figures watched from the doorways. The last thing she drew was a simple sentence in a child's handwriting. They never left. They just learned how to wait inside us. Rebecca burned every drawing. For weeks afterward, Mia would wake up speaking in voices that weren't hers, reciting names of children who had died there decades ago. The last time Rebecca heard from her, Mia was 12 and living with relatives. She still draws sometimes. The pictures are always the same. Empty rooms filled with waiting shapes that look almost like children if you don't look too long. There is one more account that feels different, closer to something that never quite leaves you. It comes from a father named Thomas, whose family lived near an old quarry where kids used to play despite the fences. His son Daniel was 8 and fearless in the way only young boys can be. He and his friends had found a way through the chain link and would spend hours exploring the abandoned machinery and flooded pits. One evening, Daniel came home later than usual, soaked and silent. When Thomas asked what happened, the boy just said they had found the other playground. Deeper in the woods past the quarry was a clearing with rusted swings and a slide half sunk into the mud. The equipment looked old, decades old, yet the chains moved gently as if recently used. Daniel said there were children there who didn't mind that it was getting dark. They let him play with them. After that night, Daniel changed. He stopped playing with his usual friends. He only wanted to go back to the quarry after sunset. Thomas followed him once and watched from the trees as his son ran through the clearing, laughing and calling out names no one answered. The swings moved in perfect rhythm even when Daniel wasn't on them. When Thomas finally stepped out and called his son's name, every swing stopped at once. The silence was heavier than any sound. Daniel turned around slowly. His face was pale, streaked with mud, but his eyes were bright with something like recognition. "They said you could play too if you want," he whispered. They'd been waiting since the accident. Thomas learned later that a bus full of children had gone off the road near the quarry in the 1950s. They never found all the bodies. That night he locked every door and window. Daniel sat on his bed staring at the wall, humming a song Thomas had never heard. Around midnight, the humming was joined by other voices, small and numerous, coming from inside the walls. Thomas packed the car while Daniel watched without blinking. As they drove away, the boy pressed his face to the rear window and waved at the darkness. "They'll find us again," he said quietly. "They always do when they get lonely." The road behind them stayed empty, but for weeks afterward, Thomas would catch movement in the side mirror, small shapes running just at the edge of the headlights. Daniel still draws the clearing sometimes. The swings are always moving. And if you look closely at the newest pictures, one of the figures looks taller than the rest. It stands apart, watching the children play, waiting for another father to make the same mistake. These stories don't end cleanly. They linger in quiet houses where children sleep, in the moments between breaths when the night feels a little too attentive. If you have little ones, watch how they stare into corners. Listen when they laugh at nothing. And if they ever ask you to come play with their new friends, remember that some invitations were never meant for the living. Sleep carefully tonight. They might already be listening.